And we're back. This is Laurie Houston. I'm here with the Willows and David Watson, who is in deep trance, and we're going to talk today about fear.
Deep fear is absolutely necessary on the plane, the third dimension, that you all live within. It is the polar opposite of love. It is essentially taken from the fact that one would understand that one will be denied, taken away from, and ignored. One would not have the acknowledgement of others around oneself so that one could feel loved. So this is what fear begins with. This is deep emotional fear we were talking about. For there are different layers of fear that one has to look at. One can be afraid of the dark. And that's with good reason, for, of course, within the understanding of your human evolution on this planet, you are still holding a certain characteristics, habits, instincts within yourself that are very important to hold within this way. Because you are having as a primary representational system vision, it is important to note that when there is no light, your vision is restricted, and therefore one must be ultra cautious. So fear in this case here, shall we say, triggers ultra caution. So one does not like to wander around a lot in the dark. One has to feel one's way about. And of course then the other aspect of fear in these situations is called imagination, which all humans are gifted with in great amounts, as you would note. Mm-hmm. And within this imagination, anything can happen. The mind can do many things and create many different thoughts, feelings, and even hear sounds or see things that it actually projects into the world around itself. These often cause fear. However, these are fears that are easily overcome once one turns the light on. You walk into a room, you don't want to move around, but the moment you turn the light on and you see where everything is, it doesn't make any difference if you turn the light off again, you know what's in the room. You see? Mm. So coming out then to other types of fear. Fear of falling, a good one. Fear is a protection, in actual fact, in many cases here, and preserves one's physical well-being. One does not dance too close to the edge of a precipice, or one does not do unruly things that may or may not cause one's demise. Yet fear is also something that many people go to create for themselves.
Which is also protection mode.
Well, it is in this way, you might say, but fear that people create for themselves, such as extreme sports, skydiving, bungee jumping, driving at enormously fast speeds.
The extreme sports, yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. These create a fear factor, and the fear factor is in actual fact part of what one would refer to as a peak experience. So fear, like love, is a peak experience. And while the conscious mind defines the two and separates them, on a higher level, where everything is seen as one in this way, they are both the same emotion. You see? Mm-hmm. They just have, shall we say, different repercussions in one's life, according to what one is doing. And then the two combine, and you say, I love to skydive. In other words, I love to be afraid. I love to have the feeling that I might die any second. You see? Mm-hmm. And this gives people a certain sense of aliveness and puts them in a place of ultimately being in the moment. There are better ways to do it for some, and worse for others, you see. But it is one way to do it. So this, again, is what fear does. It can be used to help, shall we say, springboard people into a deeper understanding and appreciation of life itself. There are many other fears in life. Fear of death is a big one. One does not understand death. One does not know what happens around death. One can only see what happens when death overtakes a living organism. It stops living. And it stops being animated, and it no longer participates in the third-dimensional physical world of duality that you live within. This, of course, then creates much in the way of conjecture regarding to what does happen with these aspects of the soul. that has been attributed to things that are alive. In other words, the energy that one would have, or that objects have, or physical beings have, that which animates the soul. And when it leaves and the object begins to deteriorate, it is assumed that this goes somewhere else. Then there is a fear of this. Where does that go? Is it hanging around? Is it going to come back and get the people who are still alive? And so on and so forth. This is the human mind and the way that it works, always protecting itself. And fear is a big protection mechanism for individuals, but always in protective mode, you see. This, however, creates for the individuals a very deep and difficult pit to dig out of. Because when one becomes mired in life and has a fearful vision on life, one then begins to create a life that is based upon moving from place to place. But fear does not make one move towards something. Fear makes one move away from something. You see? Mm-hmm. So people who live a fearful existence because they have built up a culture of fear within their families or within their social circles or even within themselves constantly are moving away from the things they are afraid of, and often have bigger problems when they arrive in the place that they moved to because they didn't want to move there. That was even a more fearful experience for them, you see. Mm-hmm. So by looking at fear and determining its effect on the body, its effect on the physical existence, one can begin to look at it and say, if fear and love are the polar opposites, then what happens when the two of them come together? When fear and love come together, one then becomes whole. Because on this plane that you live in, one would always expect that love was this wonderful positive emotion. Which of course it is, but it's not just emotion. It is something that attracts things. And when you look at love itself, when one comes onto the physical plane, as we have explained in the past, one comes through the prism of the body to create the emotional spectrum that you humans enjoy and employ in your day-to-day existence. And fear is at the bottom and love is at the top. It is not divine love, nor is divine fear. It is love on a third-dimensional perspective. Mm. So when love and fear become incorporated, and all emotions are followed back to their origin, then original love is found. So fear is very useful in doing this kind of thing as well. It's just very important for individuals to recall that living a fearful life is not going to bring them what they want. It will only make them avoid what they don't want. You see?
Fabulous.
So this is what we would say about fear, and to quote the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And indeed, so is the case.
Beautiful. All right, you've been listening to David Watson and the Willows. You can find out more about David Watson if you go to the website askthewillows.com, and you've been listening with Laurie Houston. Thank you.